We are back to basketball, and it feels fantastic that we can talk about something other than what we've been talking about. You're on the Hoops Gap, baby. Let's go.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
Welcome back into the Hoops Cap Pod, part of the Big East Energy Network, your home for all things Big East basketball. We're glad to have you here, whether you're a first-time listener or part of the day one crew. We appreciate you tuning in and being a part of this growing community. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on the notifications so you never miss a new episode. Highlight, anything that we can talk about, from breaking it down or the live reaction shows that we're going to have throughout the season. I didn't get a chance to do one last night. It's just been a really rough couple of weeks, and I've been getting over being sick. So apologies for that. But, going forward, I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a live reaction show for both the men's and the women's. But I'll be a little choosy about that this year because it is just me, and there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. A huge thank you to everyone supporting the Big East Energy Network. Your engagement, comments, shares, all of it is what helps us keep building this platform for Big East fans everywhere, and for my Connecticut fans. Let's get into it. We're finally back to talking basketball, not hypotheticals, not recruiting boards, although we do have an interesting development later that I will talk about at the end of the show. No off-season workouts, actual plays, rotations, fouls, frustrations, excitement, all kinds of stuff. UConn beat Boston College last night in the exhibition at Mohegan Sun, 71-52, a preseason game. It's early. You could already see the bones of what's going to make this team special in a few things that they really have to tighten up. So let's get into it. Let's start with the good, and we'll get to the bad, and we'll get to the flat-out phenomenal. So let's start with good because there's a lot to like here, and it could creep into that phenomenal range. Braylon Mullins, I just like watching this kid play basketball. He didn't even play particularly well because he had a couple of, in my opinion, flops from the opposing player. I think it was Hand from Boston College. Still gave great effort, had 12 points in 12 minutes. Super efficient. He's smooth. He's confident. And when he taps back in, into those misses that he had, it was literally just a footwork thing and a little bit of nerves. Like you could tell on open shots, he rushed a little bit, but you just can't teach a lot of the things that he does well. The tap backs, on some misses that have left to, that led to 3-pointers, that, extra possessions. Those are little things, and I'm not comparing him to Cam Spencer, but those are little things that even of all people, my mother, who's a huge basketball fan, don't give her a ton of shout outs as I probably should, used to say it all the time, like, man, Cam always seems to be around the ball. And she's right. And so players like that are typically very, very difficult to replace. And it's taken a little while, and I think Braylon is going to be that guy. Dwayne Caroma, another person. I've been saying this since he was on Lemoyne. This guy is going to be a problem off the bench. 2 offensive rebounds early, both turned into points, one directly into a 3, another into a layup. That's what Hurley wants from his bench. Energy plays, guys that aren't going to muck up the system, guys that aren't going to have to need the ball to do too much. He's the type of guy. He was plus 19 in minutes that he played. He just was everywhere. Big, physical. Definitely can use him at the 5 if you need to spell. Eric or Terrace, who didn't play. Team defense early, I thought was phenomenal. A little too handy, but they did get a lot of deflections. They created a lot of turnovers. The rotations were crisp. They were really kind of moving at a high clip in terms of the energy and points off turnovers. 16 points off 11 turnovers in the first half. It wasn't perfect, but it looked like the type of UConn basketball that we're accustomed to. It didn't look like that softest Charmin defense that was playing last year. Physical, intense, smart this year. And then there's Alex. Alex was okay. His shot wasn't falling, but I love that he didn't just hang around the arc. He took some deep threes, and people will get all up in arms about that. But he took it to the basket. That's the kind of adjustment that separates great shooters from elite players. And I think his bigger physicality, like I think he added about 15, 20 pounds this offseason. You can kind of see it when he takes the ball out of the basket, albeit it is Boston College. It's still a high major team. It's an ACC school. You can tell that when he plays through contact, at least initially in this first scrimmage, that he didn't get knocked off the ball. Also, seeing Alex at the 5 and those small ball looks, I love that. I think that was a huge part of why they spread BC out in the second half. They got quicker, they controlled the tempo, and they can do that with a team that's not as talented at the center position. And that could be a lineup of death, as we used to call it with Golden State, right? For Hurley later this year. Some of the bad. Now, this is still October, and it's October 13th. Now it's 14th. The following, just too many. It's the classic early season problem. They're playing physical, but they're trying. Their energy is still in their hands and needs to be in their feet and in their chest. They were working hard, but they crossed that line from tough to sloppy a few times, and it showed some immaturity. Dan said at halftime with Kayla Burton that she asked about separation in the second half. He said we had it. It was 32-16, and then we let the foot off the accelerator and essentially just showed some immaturity, and that was something that he said right at halftime. So classic Hurley soundbite there, and I know he won't stand for that going forward because he has the horses this year. You can say that he's not going to stand for that at certain points, but if you don't have the talent, it's kind of hard to change things. This year he's got the talent. So I'm putting Jaden Ross in the bad, but also the good for this reason. I actually like what he did. He's got to find that line between aggression and control. He can't be a foul magnet. I'll have to look at the box score again. I don't think he had more than 2 or 3 fouls, but he was plus 26. This is not a kid who deserves the type of hate that he got on the timeline based off of how he played last year because of the early comments from Hurley and that he's going to take off in the early play against a bye game team. This was against another Power 4 team, albeit a low-level ACC school. Jaden Ross, when he has a mismatch, he made 2 decisive plays in transition where he hesitated and went right to the basket and blew by his man, layup, got the goaltend, count it. Then he got a rotational shot on a wing where he pump faked, took 1 dribble, took a pull-up jump shot that you don't see a lot in the college game anymore, and it was pure. I'm not concerned with his air ball in the corner. He's not a three-point shooter, and nor should he consider himself to be. Take 1 step in and hit and drain a mid-range jump shot. Even if he is a three-point shooter and he makes them in practice, keep shooting them. Maybe I don't know anything, but the idea is that when he makes decisive plays, he can be a factor. When he is inconsistent and when he thinks too much, that's when he's a liability out there because he tries to do too much and things snowball. But it didn't last night. You cannot show me stretches where the kid was poor defensively and offensively together. It was one or the other, and his presence on the court in a big stretch of that game, plus 26, the highest plus minus of the team. The bad on Alex Karaban last night, I felt like a little bit of the shooting slump continued, but he kind of got himself out of it. His defense is still can be exploited, even though he's a little bigger. When a guy wants to bang down low and hit a jump shot or kind of pull up in the post, that's something that you kind of live with. I'm okay with it, but I think he's still thinking too much on his jump shot. It seems like it's a little too formulaic. I think he's just got to catch it and shoot it. I think he looks fantastic when he does that in the shots, even the shot he made with 1 shoe. It just looked like effortless, and maybe that's part of some of the contention about shooting from too far away. But I think sometimes when you have that type of range, that's what it should look like. Just effortless. Don't force it. Anyway, I think Alex is going to be fine. He's the type of kid that's going to be an all Big East player. And I'm going to say this because I don't want to get too hard on certain players because I'm never going to be, you're never going to see me, pull the, Mike and the Mad Dog stuff. Like I don't want to be negative about certain players. I love Jay Stu. I love his talent. I love what he brings to the table, but he still has some mental lapses. And I think that's a fair assessment. And I think it's mental lapses defensively where you're just like, what are we doing here? I think he had a 3-pointer or a pull-up jump shot. And then on the very next play, when they were in this 1-5 set, a guy that has no business blowing by him just completely left him in the dust like barbecue chicken and got a layup, and it wasn't even contested. So if he locks in, and I had a conversation with a fellow UConn fan last night, and I mentioned this specific game. last year against Marquette. I was there in media row, and I literally asked Dan Hurley about the energy that Jalen Stewart gave them in that time frame and what that meant for those 12 minutes. And it was like nothing I've ever seen before. A game turned into essentially a scrum, and Jay Stu was undeterred. He did everything. He had that big putback dunk, but it was his defensive commitment to stopping his man, whoever was guarding, is what set that team apart last year for that game. And it was a game they needed to win. So he needs to find that intensity again. Until then, he's the biggest X factor on this team. If he becomes the player that I saw against Marquette and then the player that we've seen in flashes for full games, this team is on a path that no one can even, like the Evan Mayas, the Ken Palms, like you can't equate for a player that averaged like 5 or 6 points a game to now be like a 12, 14 or a lockdown defender and kind of add that extra element. The kid could be, just an all-around player for them. He doesn't have to be a scorer because they have Braylon and they have Silas and they have Alex and they have Solo, but he can give them points if they need it. He can give them that element of go get us a bucket, shut down their best defender, best offensive player, but he's got to lock in. And the concern for me is if Braylon is already starting over him, are they using him as is that should concern everybody that's in the J Stu camp, because I want him to be better. I actually thought it would be odd to not see him starting because he came back and it seemed like that would be the play for him. But it's one of those things where I want him to be good, and I don't want to be negative about it. I think he can definitely snap out of whatever funk he has on the court where he kind of has these mental lapses. That's all with that. And then for me, the phenomenal, let's talk about Malachi Smith. The dude is an absolute demon. His energy, his intensity, the way he plays with that reckless abandon. He's what, and this is not a shot, he's what Ahmad Noel was supposed to be. And they're just on different points in development. And I just think that this kid is, I'll use Ahmad again. If there's a player that he's trying to pattern his game around, it should be Malachi Smith because of the size, because of the ability to shoot, get to the basket, be a pest, be a culture changer. That's it's eerie. They look eerily similar, like when they're going to the basket. So he has that it factor. He's going to be a fan favorite, the kind of player that makes people fall back in love with old school UConn guard play, chaos, defense, downhill attack. And then there's, Solo, especially like Hulk Solo. Guys just yoked, more confident, looks like he's ready for a breakout season. Still a little raw in some of the decision-making with the ball in his hands, but he made a great play underneath the basket. You can tell that leap is coming. Again, back to Koroma and Millander. I think these two deserve multiple shout-outs. You can't build a championship rotation without guys like this. They're heady, they're tough, they're experienced role players who do all the dirty work, and they're gonna steal some minutes, win possessions, and tire teams out. When the starters need to come out, I don't think the drop off is going to be very, very much, and I think that's the biggest takeaway I take from those two guys playing some extended minutes. And then I think a surprise for me, and I shouldn't be surprised because it's an international player and he's new. Is not a lot of Jacob Furphy. He had a couple opportunities to make some plays. I had some people tell me that he looked like he was taking it all in. And I think this goes back to, please don't put high expectations on players that the coaches tell you are developmental pieces. Like, I love Jacob. I think he's a great kid. He came on the show. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player for UConn. I think he's going to end up being in the NBA. But if he's not in the top 7, 8, 9 right now, so be it. Like, he'll be fine. He's going to stick around. He's going to learn and all of that. So, yeah, I think that's just something. And Eric, another international player who was on our show. I love Eric. I think some of the things I saw on the Twitterverse about he's got to dunk that shit and like all this other stuff. It's like, listen, Eric is 7'1". He's 260 pounds. He's got great footwork. His touch around the rim is phenomenal. Did the one that is on my Instagram, thanks to my team that was there yesterday. I really appreciate them. Shout out Colleen and Jess. That's a play that freshmen just don't make. Like that's just, like he's putting it up on the rim, but because he has that ability, he gets himself an and one. He's physical enough to get another and one earlier in the game. He made both his free throws. This kid is going to be a nice piece to add with Terrace. I don't think they're going to play together. If they did, it's going to be because they are, seriously needing extra size. But man, he hasn't even taken a 3-point shot yet. And you could tell that element of his game is going to come as well. Remember, it's October. On a scale of 1 to 10, my concern level of this on this team is a 1. The defense is ahead of schedule. The effort was there. And let's not forget, they did this without Terrace Reed and Silas, both who are dealing with injuries. And from everything I've heard, there's zero concern long-term. If in terms of injury-wise, if anything changes, you'll be the first to know. This team will have lapses, especially early, as did the 22-23 national title team. And that's part of kind of learning Hurley's system. And that's always going to be something that you guys have to understand, that this team is running a very complicated offense and defense. And as much effort as you put into things, sometimes it doesn't always translate into wins. And I mean that like macro, not like winning a game, but like winning a rep. They'll figure it out. They have plenty of guys. We even saw Raison block a shot at the end of the game that got the team fired up. It's October. I think the fouls will clean up. I think that's part of it too. They just got to be less handsy. That's all it is. Move your feet a little more. Use your chest a little more. I thought it was a great first exhibition. It made me calm. It gave me calm for the entire, game, even though when they went down by a couple points in the second half, because I can tell that the pieces are there. Last year, I got excited about a few things, but I was still kind of like, maybe we're missing a few things. My fan goggles got in the way last year with the Aidens, the Ahmads, some of the guys that we weren't really sure about, but we were hopeful of, right? I don't think that's the same feeling this year, and I don't think anyone should have that same feeling. On a recruiting note, we can confirm through very valid sources that Colben Landrew will be committing to UConn tomorrow at noon. Another high-level addition for Hurley and his staff. Some of us have compared him to like Steph Castle light. He is an absolute monster physically. He was an all-state football player as well as basketball player. It's safe to say that dynasty isn't slowing down anytime soon. And this UConn team that's looking for their third title in 4 years is never stopping, by the way, nice promo for Dan's book, is never going to stop recruiting high-level players. And for those of you who talk about how we miss out on certain players, the players kind of price themselves out. And there's a reason for that. And part of that is they're testing the standards of which Dan Hurley will not break. I think that is the most important thing you need to know about this coaching staff. They have a set of standards that they will not break for anyone. I talked to a former player the other day, and he said, if you notice, Dan is staying in that, 10 to 30, 20 to 40 range in terms of his ideal profile, because they want players that are good and they want players that are talented, but they don't want players who are problems and think that they're bigger than the program. And that's just the reality. And you can talk about not having all the NIL money. I think it's a godsend that we don't have all the NIL money in the world, because if you do and you just throw that money around, some of that is going to breed some complacency. And, not that any of these guys are going hungry anymore, like Ryan Boatwright or Shabazz Napier were. But, let's just say not everyone's got billionaires backing their NIL stuff. And UConn's doing just fine. So that's it for today. So congrats to UConn for grabbing Colben Landrew, and also congrats to the young man for making the right choice, in my opinion. I would have supported him either one way or the other, but love to be able to cover him. And we'll see you next time on the Hoopscat Pod. Tomorrow, we're going to break down the women's exhibition. I was going to do it today, but A lot of stuff is going on in the middle of the day over here in the Big East Energy Network world. So good stuff. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Check out tomorrow's show on the women's team, and also commenting on the official announcement of Colben Landrew coming to UConn. Go Huskies.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.